Hey guys, Dan here. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Lowepro Whistler backpack. Now the Whistler backpack comes in two different sizes. There's a 350 AW and a 450 AW. This one here is the 450. I would guess that the 350 is 35 liters, the 450 is 45 liters. I wasn't actually able to confirm that looking at the website, but they seem around that sort of area, so that would make sense to me. The two bags are actually not physically different too much in the height of the bags. It's mainly to do with the depth of them. So if you are looking at using a smaller DSLR, a mirrorless setup, or a smaller kind of standard size DSLR, then the 350 AW will probably suit you. Lowepro recommends the 450 AW for taller pro size bodies or regular bodies with a battery grip. So what this is an outdoor and adventure sports photography pack, and it's actually a very specific pack. It's probably the most specific pack I've ever seen Lowepro design, and it's quite exciting. They actually collaborated with a number of outdoor photography professionals, including a guy, so that actually I should also say, it's called the Whistler, and it's named after the ski resort or the town of Whistler in British Columbia, Canada. Now that's actually where I'm from. I've spent the last 10 years living here. So it was kind of a neat side note when I realized that Lowepro were actually going to release a backpack that was named after my town. And it's actually the town which got me into photography in the first place. I wasn't a photographer when I moved to Whistler, and just the beauty of the place and all of the outdoor sports and the action that goes on around here is what turned me into a photographer in the first place. So kind of a rabbit hole there for a second, but that's kind of neat. And what Lowepro did was they talked to a lot of outdoor photography professionals, including a local Whistler guy called Paul Morrison. He is a ski photographer primarily, but he does a lot of mountain biking and other stuff like that. They collaborated closely with him and some other people in the industry. And what they've done is create a bag that is very rugged, definitely with a very keen eye on being the best backpack out there for skiing and snowboarding and just being in alpine mountains. So the first thing you notice is the material that this thing is made out of. It's got a kind of a TPU coating to it. Now we've seen TPU in backpacks before, especially outdoor packs. They normally used on the base a little bit in order to give you some waterproofing when you stand your bag on the ground, on dirty ground, or in the snow and things like that. Lowepro have gone a little bit further, and they put this TPU coating on the top and all over the front of the bag. It's not on the sides, but then there's a thicker, kind of more ruggedized version of the material on the bottom. So super rugged base. I'm not going to say water resistant TPU because I don't think that's what they say, so I wouldn't want to say that. But what I can say is, like, you're not going to have a problem with this if it's raining or snowing. I mean, water just sheds off this. And they actually include a rain cover with this as well. Now, I haven't used the rain cover yet because I simply haven't needed to. It does so well anyway, but because the sides don't have the TPU, you know, if you were in a proper monsoon for hours, then you could probably do with putting a little waterproof cover on it. So it's neat that they've added that. You don't have to buy it separately like you do with some other manufacturers. And there's a little zippered pocket which is perfect for it inside the front flap here. So I thought what we'd do for this video is walk through all of the features one by one. It's got a lot of features. I hope I don't miss any, but I will kind of walk through it. And then we'll talk about my feelings for the bag after that. I've been using it for a while now, so I feel like I got a pretty good handle on things. So where do we start? Gosh, let's just start with the harness system here. Very, very comfortable harness for carrying a heavy load. What you've got here is a very wide shoulder strap, so it really helps to spread the weight out. They're not actually that thick, but they have actually a very nice kind of foam that they've used, and I really mostly appreciated the width of them. I thought that was great. It does work out to be a very comfortable bag to wear, so there's no issues there. The inside has this kind of non-slip patterning on it, which is pretty neat. Down here we've got kind of standard issue whistle attached to the clip, emergency whistle. Like I said, it's pretty standard on outdoor photography packs these days, but it's there. On the waist belt side of things, again, we've got this nice thickness not so much thickness. It's a similar thing to the shoulder straps, but what I mean is the width. So you've got surface area to spread out the weight that you're carrying. And what I like here is that they've got this rail system attached here that actually has 2 big rails and then 4 smaller little mini ones as well. So these are great for clipping carabiners onto if you're attaching things like water bottles or just climbing equipment. They also work really well with most of the modular components from companies like like Lowepro's ones, but also Think Tank Photo and Mindshift Gear. I have a bunch of those lying around. And with these 2 different rail sizes here, I was able to easily add accessory pouches to this waist belt here. I also added my Peak Design capture clip. That fits really well onto one of these as well. So I like that they didn't put pockets on both sides. I think that's really great. It allows you to really expand using other accessories. On this side, they did put a pocket, but what they did right was making it pretty big. So you can get your cell phone in here, you can get some snacks, you can get a small pair of gloves. It's a good size, and that works really well. Okay, let's go to the top of the bag. So I would advise that you also, if you're watching this on YouTube, head to the description below and click the link to the review, because there's about 50 photos, detailed photos of the bag there. So some of this will make more sense when you see the real detailed photos as well. But let's continue here with looking at the features. So the top of the pack has this orange pocket. The orange is nice because it means stuff doesn't get lost. When you put something in there and you open this up, you can see it. You don't have to look in the corners for it. If it's dark outside, the orange really helps with that. So that's neat. Little mesh pocket at the top. Now this one has a key clip in it. I rarely use them for keys, mainly for putting memory card wallets in so you don't lose them. So I like to clip those in. And there's another clip actually in this pocket as well. So that's neat to have a couple of those 2 things, because there's been a few bags recently which haven't provided any of those. And it's such a simple little thing. But you know, if I've got several $100s worth of memory cards, I mean, if you have big ones, you could have $500 worth of memory cards in a memory card wallet. And they're small wallets, so I want to be able to clip them in. It's such a simple kind of $2 part, but I really like that there's 2 of these in here. I can have a couple of options. The top pocket then is sized perfectly for like large winter gloves. You can get your sandwiches in there for lunch. What else have I put in there? Goggles. When I've taken the skiing, I've put my goggles in there. When I'm getting to and from places, it works well for that. It's the right size. It doesn't connect with the main section of the pack, so it is this kind of segregated section, which is good, because on the f-stop gear packs, and there are some similarities between the Lowepro, Whistler, and various f-stop packs. I know I talk about it in my review. Everybody else is going to talk about it as well, because frankly are a lot of similarities between them. But one of the differences is the f-stop packs, when you open them up at the top, there is no separated pocket. So when you put stuff in the top there, it has the potential to fall right down to the bottom, down the sides. I quite like that this is completely separate here. You can put stuff in here and you always know that you're going to be able to find it really quick once you open this up. So that's the top pocket. Let's do front. Let's do the front. We already had a look at the little zippered pocket. I've got the rain cover in there. We've got a nice big wide opening here. And what we've got is a little section here where you can put your shovel handle and avalanche probe if you're going out backcountry skiing or snowboarding. So that's great. If you're going mountain biking, you can use it to put your pump in there as well, which is handy. And there's a couple of really awesome features about this front section. The first one is that it's actually kind of expandable. So on the side here, we actually have another zipper which zips up this, and it kind of streamlines the front of the pack a little bit. If I undo this, it makes this a whole lot thicker. It adds at the top here about, I don't know, nearly 2 inches of width to this at the top of the pocket there. So it goes from being a pocket that can fit like a shovel and avalanche probe and just kind of that basic stuff, to something that can fit like a large piece of climbing rope, crampons, tons of extra clothing, you know, like winter puffy layers, extra winter jackets, pants, that kind of stuff. So it actually really adds to the volume. I kind of wish that the expansion went a little bit further down. It's really expanded at the top, and then that tapers out towards the bottom. Would have been cool if that expansion was the whole front of the pack, but can't have everything. So other features of this front pocket, it doesn't come with a water bladder, but there is a bladder clip here. So any of your standard kind of camelback things, you're going to be able to attach here. So there isn't another reservoir pocket. This is it. This is going to be where your water is going to go at the front. What they've done here, it's hard to see in the video, I'm sure, but maybe if I scratch it and make that noise, you can kind of hear that this is sort of really super tough material here. And what they've done is create this impregnable barrier between this front pocket and the main section where you're going to put your cameras. So you can put things like crampons in here, and you can put extremely wet gear like you know, your shovel that's just encrusted with ice and snow and stuff like that. You could put that in the front here without worrying that any of that's going to seep through to the dry section, which is the main section of the pack. And we've got some drainage holes at the bottom here as well. So if you have wet stuff in here, waterlogged rope or something like that, that can drain out of the bottom. So really well thought out front of the pack. Just a great kind of place to stuff things really quickly. Just works great for extra layers and things like that. All right, where do we go next from here? Straps all over the place. Straps here for securing ice axes, hiking poles. We've got horizontal straps, which make it good for putting a snowboard on the front of the pack like this. There's another one here. I personally really like the orange accents of these. I have heard a few other people say that they don't like them, but for me, I think it actually looks really cool. These are really easy to remove as well, which is, you know, I find that kind of good, because if you want to simplify the bag and you're not wanting to strap something to the front, really easy to just unhook these when there's no tension on them. But once you've got something in there and you tighten them up, they don't come out, so that works really well. You know, you have lots of options for places to put tripods. Really big video tripods are probably going to end up on the front here. Smaller photo tripods definitely can go on the side. We've got clips on the side as well. This is also designed for having skis on here. So we have this thicker rail here to slide your ski behind. But what's also great about this rail and these extra bits of webbing here is they're perfect for hooking on climbing gear. So if you're going to the crag for a bit of climbing photography, then there's room in here for your camera gear, but there's external room to clip basically all your carabiners and your quick draws and all that stuff. Put your harness in the front, put your shoes in the front. It's just awesome for that as well. I've never seen a bag that's so well equipped for that. And like I said before, expand this front pocket, plenty of room for your rope in the front there as well. You know, it's a great pack for going for a bit of climbing as well. On the other side here, excuse me, there's not too many misses with this bag. I mean, right away you can tell I'm quite excited by this bag. I really enjoyed using it, and there's some great features. The one miss that really stands out for me is this side pocket here. It's a length, sort of a long side pocket. It doesn't have really any thickness to it, so I can't think what you're supposed to put in there. I guess it's designed so that you have a pocket to access when the camera's lying on its front like this and you're accessing the back panel. There's two kind of smaller pockets in it, but what's tricky about it is the zipper is hidden behind this kind of vanity flap which covers the zipper up. But it makes it really hard at a glance when you look at your bag to see whether you've actually zipped this up or not. And because of the nature of the pocket, that it's open down here, if you have something in there and you didn't zip it up, as soon as you stand it up like this and throw it on your bag, you're probably going to lose things that are in this pocket. So it's really well hidden whether this is zipped up or not, and as a result I just don't trust myself with it. I don't think I would see that I'd left it open if I'd done so by accident. And given that there's very little useful things I feel I could put in the side pocket anyway, because it really isn't thick enough to allow anything, I've just kind of ignored it. So that's a bit of a miss in the design, in my opinion. Now, I guess we're going to get to the inside now. Let's see, what are we going to talk about here? There's actually a really cool feature here. Let's stand it up like this. So the majority of back panel opening packs just have this panel that flops open the whole way top to bottom. Now what Lowepro have done is they've kind of put this fold in here, so if the weather is really bad, you can actually zip it halfway and you can fold like this, and then you can get to your camera and pull things out from the top here by not opening the whole thing up, not exposing all the camera gear to the bad weather. I think it's awesome, it works really well. But of course you can also zip all the way to the bottom. Actually, while I'm doing that, another cool feature is the size of these tags. Really designed so that you can work with them with big, thick mitts and winter gloves on, and it works really well. So pop this open. We've got a couple of memory card slots here, which personally I haven't used those. Perhaps you might. 3 memory card slots. Another little zippered pocket in the back panel there. Then we have the camera section, and you can choose whether or not to use this flap. It's attached to the camera block, but you can actually use this hook and loop. You can roll this up. Let's make sure I do it right. I think you do it like this. And then this little piece of hook and loop on the back here sticks to the back side of the camera block, just like that. So now if you want a really fast access, you just go like that. Getting into the main camera block. Now, there's some innovative features in here which are really best, I think, described with the photos. So I might throw those up in the video, or definitely, again, have a look at the review. Head to the comment section, the description below to find that link. The easiest one to demonstrate, though, is these really neat dividers. To start with, they're orange, and the inside of the pack is this light gray. So again, it just makes it super easy to see things in the dark and the low light. It's really easy to see how everything's laid out and find your little, that little black lens cap that's hiding in the corner somewhere. The thing that I really love about this is these dividers here are actually pockets themselves. So it comes with about, I want to say 3 or 4 of these ones where you can put stuff in them. So you can put your GoPro in there, you can put your memory card wallet, you can put your AA batteries, and they just have little hook and loop closure. It's just awesome. And yeah, more people need to do this. So that's really great feature of this section here. What's not so great is the sizing of this internal camera block. It's quite difficult to fit in exactly what you want to be able to fit. There's just something weird. When they did the design for it, you would think that you can put 1 row of lenses here, 1 row of lenses here, and then your standard sort of 70 to 200 f2.8 lens down the middle. But actually, if you do that, if you have your 16 to 35, 70 to 200, 24 to 70, something like that, there's not enough width to do that unless you take off the lens hoods from them. And then, of course, well, where do you put the lens hoods? It doesn't make any sense. So it's just, I wish that this whole thing was about 3/4 of an inch to an inch wider. I'm sure that they did this to keep the weight of the pack closer to your center of gravity. When you're skiing and mountain biking, you want to really concentrate that weight as close to your spinal column as possible. But the result is that I do find it quite tricky to pack sometimes. And that is a bit unfortunate, really, because everything else about this is so awesome. And if you take this kind of usage and you ask all the people that do this kind of work, then a 70 to 200 and those kind of lenses with a 77 millimeter or 82 millimeter diameter on the front are pretty standard issue for all of us that do this kind of work. So I'm not sure how that happened, that the sizing doesn't really work for that, and that's a bit of a shame. The other thing to note about this is this does remove. I'll do it right now, actually. It's a little tricky, so bear with me. It definitely doesn't slot in and out too easily. All right, there we go. So there's the interior of the pack. Now, you could do whatever you want with this. I've actually used this quite a few times by just throwing smaller bags in here, throwing more clothing in here, and just a camera wrapped up in a some kind of neoprene camera wrap when I just wanted to go super light with the camera gear. So there's that option as well. You don't have to use the big camera block. What's different about this compared to other bags like the f-stop bags and the Mindshift gear bags with their removable camera compartments is that this is pretty rigid. The sides of this are much thicker than any other one that I've seen, and this is designed clearly to offer some sort of crash protection, I guess. If you're doing one of these more extreme sports and you have an accident, then this will definitely protect your gear a lot more than any of the other bags I've seen, but it comes at a price because this is pretty heavy. I don't know the numbers exactly, but if I was to compare it to you know, a similar sized ICU, which is f-stop gear's kind of similar thing, I would say this is about double the weight for the ICU part. Not the whole thing, but just this part. I kind of wish that what's clearly hardened, there's some kind of plastic in here, there's rigid plastic in the sides here for this protection. I wish that they were removable, so people like me who are not worried about protecting the camera, I would rather have a lighter weight bag that offers less protection. I wish that they had given people that choice. So, you know, maybe some kind of zipper that you could pull the rigid parts out. It would lighten things up. And then also allow a bit more expansion for these lenses which don't quite fit that we talked about before. The other thing is that I wish that there was a couple of different options. It's kind of strange that there is just this one size available when it's removable. So you might think, well, why is it removable at all? Part of the reason behind that is to dry it out quicker. That's what Lowepro have said. I can definitely understand that in the snow. That's actually a really great reason. When they told me that, I was like, okay, yep, that makes sense. But I do think it's a bit of a missed trick because you have this removable system, and I know that sometimes a lot of people want to just travel with a camera and one lens or two small lenses. So a half-size camera block would be really great. Now, as it happens, of course, you can always go and buy any number of other camera, you know, blocks like this from people like Crumpler or f-stop or Mindshift gear and things like that. So it's not actually a really big deal. I'm just surprised that they didn't, you know, offer that as an extra. I think that's all the main features to talk about. It has these toggles on here, incidentally, which you're supposed to use for hooking it in. It's such a tight squeeze to get it in the bag anyway. You don't need to worry about those. Yeah, I think that's really all the features to talk about. So now we just talk about my feelings about the bag in general. You know, it is hard to escape the fact that there are some similarities between this and the f-stop bags. I've tried all the f-stop bags. I've reviewed all of those, the Talopa, the Satori, the Loka, the Guru, the Kenti, all these things. And, you know, before those guys came along, there was very little choice in the backpack sector for outdoor and adventure sports photographers. It was really a lot of people repurposing hiking bags and things like that. And f-stop really changed the game there. It's really hard to say which one would be better, but one of the problems that I faced is I have all these reviews of these f-stop bags on my website, and people email me continuously saying, what else would you recommend because the f-stop ones aren't in stock? And it seems to have been an ongoing problem for f-stop that they just can't keep their bags in stock for whatever reason. And so now I'm really happy to be able to have this other option, which I think is just as good as an f-stop Talopa, if not a little bit better in some areas, a little bit weaker in others. It's really hard to say which I would, excuse me, which I would pick. You know, if you want the protection of the hard sides in this, then obviously this would be the way to go. If you want something a bit lighter, this is a fairly heavy system overall because the TPU coating on this bag makes it extremely rugged and resilient to rain and snow, but it makes it a bit heavier than the f-stop equivalents as well. So that's a consideration. But at least now when people say that the f-stop ones aren't in stock and what else do I recommend, I can heartily recommend this bag. It carries skis very comfortable. It carries just general weight very comfortably. You know, it's just an extremely well thought out bag. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I think it's the most specifically designed bag that Lowepro have ever done. And I'm kind of excited to see if they do that kind of mentality in any other sectors of the photography industry as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to say about this. I mean, just overall, I guess the two main negatives are the slight overweight compared to some other bags. And then the sizing of this here, where I just found it hard to get 3 rows of lenses. I mean, just as the padding falls like this, you can see that this naturally this center row here is just not wide enough for a lens, so it means that everything's really squashed up in there. And that would probably be my main misgiving about it, but I'm still able to pack, you know, a couple of cameras, 5 lenses, flash gear. I can put my Elinchrom ELB 400 flash in the top pocket of this as well, and light stands on the side, so I can be good to go with a lighting setup on a mountain with 5 or 6 lenses and 2 camera bodies, and then all the accessories I need for the day in the front pocket. I mean, it's a big bag overall. You're definitely going to be able to get all your stuff in there, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But pricing for the bag, we're looking at $390 US for the 450 and $350 for the 350 AW. That's pretty much on par with the other options out there. You know, by the time you load up your f-stop bags with the ICUs, because you order those separately, and get the rain covers for them, or you look at bags from the pricier ones from Tamrac or the Mindshift gear ones, you know, that seems like a lot of money for some people who normally spend $100 on a camera bag. But having reviewed 20 plus outdoor and adventure sports like rugged camera bags, this falls right in the area that I would expect it to. You definitely look at the finishing, the material, and you see where that money is. It's not a question of, is this worth the money at all? The materials are absolutely first rate. The build quality is awesome. We didn't really talk about the padding on the back here as well, but I really like this foam. It's obviously really hard for you guys to tell in a video, but this is nice kind of thick foam here with this anti-slip design on it. I mean, I just think it's the really fantastic choices on the material. And yeah, it's an awesome bag, and I can see myself using this for a long time for, you know, pretty much any time that I want to go up a mountain somewhere. This is going to be the go-to thing for me. And I think you guys would really enjoy it. So thanks for watching. I know this was pretty long, but there was a lot to talk about here. And like I said, head to the description below, find the link to the online version of this, the website version of this, and check out all the photos as well. Detailed photos, 50 of them or so. There's different lens setups in there. You can see how I fit my Canon 200 to 400 in here, because it's actually big enough to fit super telephoto in there as well if you put the camera body sideways. So check out all the photos in the review. You'll see different setups there. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please give us a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. We'll have plenty more of this stuff in the future. Thanks for watching.